Good evening and welcome to Sporlitiks, where sports and politics mix and mingle. I'm Stacey Johnson. Joining me tonight is Aguna, the late Nigerian moderate Republican, Keith, the constitutional conservative, Stephen, the independent thinker, and my cousin Todd. Tonight we've got a jam-packed show for you. Philadelphia Sixers coach Doc Rivers fired after the team is eliminated from the playoffs. House Democrats move to expel GOP-indicted New York freshman Congressman George Santos from Congress. Stephen will talk about NASCAR, and the border chief says it's too early to know if migrant surge peaked, as Secretary of Homeland Security Mayorkas denies Biden's immigration policy is equal to Trump's. Gun shootings around the country continue, and the Phoenix Suns fire coach Monty Williams after 4 seasons. North Carolina legislature reapproves abortion ban, overriding the governor's veto, as Republicans use their supermajority to uphold a 12-week ban, overruling the Democratic governor's attempt to stop the bill and preserve wider abortion access. Moments before leaving for Asia, President Biden said he was confident America would not default on its debt, as former President Donald Trump said, "Let America default." The Durham report. What is it? And is it correct? House Democrats move forward with a petition to force debt limit vote as a way to pressure Republicans to strike a deal. State elections just occurred yesterday. We'll talk about that and more. First up, NASCAR with Stephen. Stephen, what happened with NASCAR? I couldn't find anything good. Any good races or anything? Stephen?
Is he on mute? Stephen, you on mute?
Stephen.
Oh gosh.
Gotta go to Aguna.
All right. Thank you for directing the show, Keith. I think I can handle it. I appreciate it though. Aguna, NBA playoffs. It looks as if Doc Rivers is gone. I'm kind of sad about that. And also, they're cleaning house throughout the NBA. Monty Williams is gone. Let's talk about Monty Williams and then talk about Doc Rivers until Stephen comes back with NASCAR.
Yeah, I wasn't really focused on anybody else but, the Sixers with so I'm not familiar with the Monty Williams situation, but I can speak to Doc Rivers if we want to talk about that.
Please do. Please do. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
Please do.
Oh, so Doc Rivers, very disappointed about that. I think he's a good regular season coach, and he can only do so much until you get to the playoffs. I mean, it's.
You need a good regular season coach. What does that mean?
I mean, you saw. For the last 5 years, 4 or 5 years, the Sixers have gotten to the playoffs, and they've gotten to the second round. And we just get stuck. We're like the Dallas Cowboys of the NBA. We're stuck in mediocrity, right?
What?
But I like Doc Rivers is definitely a Hall of Fame coach, but he just can't get over the hump. I can't say that firing him is going to, I don't know who they're going to get. They bring in someone, he's going to have to motivate Harden. I don't know if Harden's going to be back. It's just this team is just. They weren't feeling Doc. So unlike the NFL, in the NBA, you get rid of the coaches to appease the players, and you got to go from there. But it'll be interesting to see what happens. But I like Doc Rivers. I think he's a great coach, but he just wasn't the answer. And then Tatum just went off. Once they didn't win Game 6 in Philly, and they had to go back to Boston with Game 7, I knew we were in trouble. I mean, I'm surprised we got 2 games in Boston, but when we couldn't close it out in Game 6, I was like, you know what? Yeah, this is not going to look good. And of course, Tatum went off with 50 points.
Aguna, how can it be mediocrity? How can it be a horrible team when y'all are always in the playoffs? Y'all have always gotten to the playoffs with him. That's a great thing. I'm a Washington fan. I can't say that. There's no reason to fire him. The only reason they fired him is because they're going to change the whole team now. They're going to bring a new coach in. They're going to get rid of Embiid. They're going to get rid of Embiid. I hate to tell you this, but he's gone too because he's pissed because that's his coach, and they're good friends. So he's going to be gone. So you're going to lose him now. You're going to lose your coach. You just lost a basic a formation of a dynasty right now is what you had.
Well, you can't really say a formation of a dynasty if you can't get past the second round. I mean, I get it. It looks good.
Next year to get past the second round.
Next year is always next year. You got to realize this is the second time in a row Boston has bounced them out of the playoffs. I mean, then before that, it was the Hawks. Before that, it was the Raptors.
Yeah,
Philly is a tough town to play in. Philly is a tough town. They want instant results. They don't want to sit around and just be okay with making the playoffs. Once you make the playoffs, great. I get it. The Wizards, they're not even making the playoffs, right? So no complaints there, right? You just want to get to the playoffs. But once you get to the playoffs, remember we suffered through the process, the holidays, the Iguodalas. We were suffering through these just mundane, horrible seasons, and now we're right there on the edge, and we can't get there. So it's unfortunately they're the product of their own success. Yeah, I get it. I'd much rather make the playoffs than not make the playoffs. But if you're in the playoffs, you got to make a run. You just can't be satisfied with just get to the second round year after year after year. Something's got to give. And so in Philly, they love to blow up things. They love the nuclear option versus, hey, let's try to tweak some things here and there. Because I would have doubled down on Doc. I mean, I'm in perfect agreement. I would have doubled down on Doc. Yeah. I would have tried to bring in an outside shooter, not Matt Maxey or whatever that can kind of push the ball a little bit and give Embiid some help. I mean, they messed up. They messed up when they let Jimmy Butler go in the Sixers. I mean, if they would have kept Jimmy Butler, they probably would have at least had, instead of capitulating to Ben Simmons and all that, going through that Ben Simmons drama, they would have probably had a title or two by now. I mean, they're in a very similar situation as the Milwaukee Bucks, but unlike the Bucks, Sixers don't have a title. At least the Bucks got a title out of the situation.
Getting rid of the coach was a knee-jerk reaction. It didn't make any sense. Maybe they want to bring their own guy in or somebody else, whatever it is. It doesn't make sense. You had something that was working, something you were headed towards something. You kept building and building each year. You're better than you were the year before. So keep building until next year. Maybe you get another piece that you need, like you're saying. Maybe you get a little something else that you need. Who knows? But right now, that's all discombobulated. And for a while, you will not be given the gift of going to the playoffs. I don't believe.
Well, especially if there's no Embiid there. If Embiid is gone, you're definitely right. We're not going to the playoffs without Embiid. I mean, who else you got? It's just like you get rid of the MVP. I doubt they'll get rid of the MVP. The year after he made the MVP. If they do that, that's just as ridiculous.
They're never going to get more for him. They're never going to get more for him than they will right now. They've gotten some good years out of him. They'll never get more for him, and they'll get a ton for him. And they'll have a more complete team with a new coach and not have a hostile player like Embiid, because Embiid loved his coach. He's very upset. So they got a reason now they can get rid of him.
But he knows it's a business. He knows it's a business. Players. It wasn't like Embiid. It wasn't like he didn't see this coming. I mean, the crazy thing about it is, had Doc got to the finals, they probably wouldn't have fired him. Even if he would have lost the Eastern Conference Final, they probably wouldn't have fired him.
For not making the playoffs, Aguna. You fire them if they don't make the playoffs. You don't fire them because they made the playoffs.
Hey, look, I agree. I didn't think they should fire him. The bad part about it is, had he won that Game 7, he probably would have still been the coach, regardless of what that next series was.
100%, right.
So if that's the case, you double down on him. You don't let one game determine that, you get rid of this guy. So we're in agreement there. But like I said, this is Philadelphia. And Philadelphia is what have you done for me lately? And if you don't get to where you want to be, You blow up everything and you start over, and you complain.
Yeah.
You start from the
What
beginning
have
and you
you done for me
complain
lately?
about
Yeah.
that.
Okay, so
What have
let
you
me.
done for
I
me
have a
lately
comment.
means
Excuse
yesterday.
me. I have a comment. Now, I think that, and I'm not Todd, so don't even start looking at me like that when I say I think that and take a pause. I'm not Todd. First off, I know people don't want to hear this, but Embiid needs to go. He's a great MVP. He's a great basketball player, but I don't think Philly is the place for him, and I don't think they have enough money to build
Only in
around him.
Philadelphia will you get rid of your best player. I
Excuse
mean, are
me.
we really talking about
Did I
getting rid of
interrupt
our
you?
best player?
Did I
I mean,
interrupt
He's
you?
gonna
where
go
do they do
goodbye.
that at?
Keith, did I interrupt you?
Well, go ahead. Go ahead. Finish.
Now, I think they should not have gotten rid of Doc Rivers. They didn't give him, excuse me, enough time to put his team together. He needed more time. 3 years was not a lot of time with what he had. Excuse me, let me get something to drink. I guess somebody must have said when I coughed and choked, I must have coughed and choked because I said Embiid should leave. But I think Embiid would probably do better someplace else. And he's an excellent player. I'm not saying it has nothing to do with him as a player. It has nothing to do with him as a person. For me, it has to do with his fit in Philadelphia and how he fits with the team. I think that, I'm glad and congratulations that he won MVP. He deserves it. He has played tirelessly for this team, and we are grateful. And he has been paid well for it. He has been paid well for it. However, I think maybe it may be time for him to go, and they should have kept Doc Rivers. Maybe Tyrese Maxey needs to go, and then also, oh man, I'm forgetting his name. I'm looking right at him. He just got married not too long ago. He needs to go. As a few people, Shake Milton. They put us, when they fired Doc, they put us in a rebuilding mode that I don't think we needed to be in at this time. I think if they had kept Doc Rivers, would have gotten rid of a few players and got some new players, then we would have been ready and poised to go to a season that would take us past the second round. Now, Doc Rivers, is a coach who is probably going to be a Hall of Famer. He's been coaching for 24 years. He's had good and bad with his success record. He is a good coach. So to let him go and not know what kind of coach you're going to get, first off, what kind of coach you're going to get in Philly for what money, who's going to be able to do what Doc Rivers did? So I'm going to stop there and welcome your comments.
Yeah, but I mean, you're saying get rid of Doc Rivers, but then you're also saying you're saying keep Doc Rivers and get rid of Embiid. I don't think if you keep Doc Rivers, you're going to get past the second round without Embiid. I mean, I don't think that's just not, I don't think that's going to happen. I just don't think that's possible. That's just my opinion, but hey, he's only the MVP, so.
Yeah, one of the other needs to stay there, but if not, both of them are going to have to go. So that's what's generally I think is going to happen. They're both going to go, and it's going to be a brand new team, and maybe you'll just catch lightning in a bottle. Who knows? You might get a bunch of great players. I don't know, because he will.
I mean, if this was the NFL, I would agree with you, Steven, but that doesn't happen in the NFL, in the NBA, where you have these mega teams, that are just built for like longevity. Yeah. I mean, look at the Lakers, right?
For y'all could win one championship. You can do like LeBron did when he went somewhere. You can put a team together, and y'all can have something going for 1 year and win a championship.
Yeah, but I mean, but that's the thing. You got to have an MVP though. You can't do it like LeBron did exactly. So you don't get rid of your LeBron-esque player.
But like Herschel Walker, you could take an MVP and get a lot for him, and you can win 1 year.
Yeah, but that Herschel that first thing, that was an exception, not the norm. And They gave up the house. Minnesota Vikings gave up everything. They gave up their firstborn and everything.
Then secondborn.
Yeah, and you see why that's never happened again.
Right. But Embiid, people want him. He is a beast. He's a great player, man.
He's a great
Yeah,
player.
that's why I don't
let's
want to
look
give
at
him
the
up.
screen.
I understand that
Let's look at the
100%.
Can you see it? The NBA playoffs brackets. You see that was we got to Miami versus New York, and now Miami versus Boston. Who do you all have winning that series, and in how many games? We'll start with Steven.
Okay, which one did you say, Stacy?
Miami. See the bracket? Miami versus Boston. Who's winning the series, and how many games?
Boston will eventually win this series here.
And how many games?
I'm gonna say I'm a 6.
Aguna.
I don't know. I think I know Miami's been the underdog for a while. But Tatum is tough, man. Yeah, I think I may have to agree with Steven. Boston in 6. Okay. But I don't see Miami winning in Boston. I just don't see that. I see them actually. I may say Boston in 5 actually, because I see them sneaking one in Miami and then winning everything in Boston.
Okay, Steven, you see this, the LA Lakers versus Denver Nuggets. Denver's up 1 already.
You did not go to Keith or me.
There's a reason for that.
Keith, who do you think is going to win, Miami or Boston?
He didn't even know which teams.
You don't even know what cities they're in.
I don't care.
Okay, you don't care. All right. I think the Miami Dolphins will win the Senate.
Okay.
Thank you, Ty.
Welcome.
Man, you surprise us every week, Ty. You get better and better.
Thank you.
All right. Who was this, Steven? With the Denver versus LA Lakers. Denver's up 1 game. The next game is tomorrow, 8:30 p.m. Who do you have winning this series, and how many games, Steven?
I have Denver, and I'm gonna go. I want to say 5 games, but I really want to say 4 games because I really love the Nuggets. I think they have everything that can. You
think they're going to sweep the Lakers?
No, I don't. I think it's going to be 5, but I think it's going to. But it would be fun if it would be 4. It would be fun. I think the Lakers are just a little bit old, and the Nuggets are just that much more talented, and they have a much deeper bench, and I think they are the much better team at this point. And I think that they could just really roll over the Lakers.
So Aguna, you're stuck.
I'll say 5. It could go 6, but
you're not moving. We don't see you talking. You're stuck. I don't know what.
Really? You can't. Yeah. I can see you guys.
You don't see
I'm
us?
stuck.
Yeah.
Am I stuck?
No.
Now you're not.
Okay. So I say the Lakers. I say the Lakers in 7 because I think it's going to be a Celtic-Lakers final, and the Lakers are going to beat the Celtics.
Aguna's got a delay. Speaking, a delay.
I got a delay.
Aguna, you're gonna have to spend some of that money on some better equipment.
Yeah, I'm on the road, man. I'm on the road. That's probably why I'm not on my regular Wi-Fi. So I'll try to adjust it.
All right. So thank you. Anything else with the playoffs, NBA playoffs, before we move on to NASCAR? All right, Steven, NASCAR, what happened this week?
We had Darlington, and it was a wonderful race. And you really have to be an old school fan like me. I've been a fan for probably more than I've been 50 years, I'd say. At least 50 years I've been a NASCAR fan. Everything's been NASCAR.
Oh my gosh. How old are you?
Huh? I'm 120.
Steven's the old mountain.
So this was a throwback. This was a throwback week. So a lot of cars went to throwback cars from the 50s, 60s, 70s.
It wasn't an original race. It wasn't a normal race.
Yes, it was a normal race, but they do every year. They have a throwback. So they'll do the cars with a different paint scheme. That it's like Bill Elliott. His Chase Elliott is his son. He'll do Bill Elliott's scheme with his number. they do these old paint schemes, and then all these old drivers from the past came back. Now I don't remember this happening before. It was Richard Petty, Bill Elliott, Terry Labonte, all the drivers that were still alive that was coming on and hanging out. It was just really, really cool for people who are old sports fans. We see somebody who hasn't driven in 40 years, 30 years, 20 years, we're a fan of. And it was a great race. And William Byron won it. I had no idea he was going to win. I had him in a lucky pick that had nothing to do with me. But I told y'all last week, don't take Ross Chastain because he's going to be retaliated upon. Now, he really wasn't, I don't think, but he did get in a wreck late in the race. But he's still number one in the points, and he's number one racer for me. It was, if you want to go back and see this is what racing is all about. This Darlington race is crazy, and it's so much fun. This coming up week, we're going to have all-star race, and it's like, it is fun because at least they're going a couple 100 miles an hour or near that, and they're really racing. They want to win $1 million, so it is a really good race, but it's not as enticing as races that mean something for the rest of the year. But I will be watching this All-Star, and I don't generally watch much of the All-Star. I might watch basketball or something, but this is really good. So if you like NASCAR at all, it's going to be a good weekend this weekend. And then the week after that is Charlotte, which is
okay. I had a question. Are you high? I said I had a question, and you ignored it.
I didn't hear you. Now I had my phone turned down a little bit, not to disturb the neighbors.
Oh, okay. All right.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. I forgotten my question, but now I want to ask a different question. Who is older, you or Keith?
The gentleman doesn't discuss his bank account or his age.
Oh.
Not in real life. You're welcome, Todd. I've helped you.
You're on mute.
You're on mute, Keith, and I didn't mute you. I can't control it, Keith.
I'm 66 years old, man.
And you, Stephen, how old are you?
Oh, Stephen's gone.
Yeah, you chased them off. You chased them off.
All right. Anything else with sports? Any baseball? Anything else with
sports? Now until after the All-Star game. Hopefully the Phillies are getting themselves together.
I have a question
There's Stephen, you guys.
Okay, goody. He knows when he's back. Steven. I have a question for Aguna. What kind of jacket is that? A throwback?
It's throwback.
Does that say Boss or Roll?
Is that Elvis? Is that an Elvis Presley jacket?
Yeah, I wish. All the sequins and the sparkles and everything. I'm trying to get some fashion sense from you, Ty.
That's one of his down low jackets.
Yeah, he looks. Yeah, right. Look, hey, Ty, what you think? What you think?
Okay, I like it.
Hey, I'm getting it. There you go, Ty.
I like it.
Hey, do that again. I missed that. Do that again.
You like my chains?
Yeah, that's right.
Good for you. I like it.
Yeah.
There you go.
Question for Tom.
All right, Keith. We got to step it up next week, Keith. We look like we on Pulp Fiction.
Yeah, hey, we got to get yourselves together.
And he died in the back of our car. We look like we're from Pulp Fiction, Keith.
House on the Prairie.
Salam alaikum, Tom. Todd. Salam alaikum.
Either Pulp Fiction or Little House on the Prairie.
Keith, we are not. This show does not endorse taking lightly any religion.
No, ma'am.
Take it lightly? I didn't.
We don't want to take lightly or joke or make fun of anyone's religion. That's not what we do.
Wait a minute. I said,
don't be a bigot, Keith. Don't be a bigot.
What does that mean?
I was greeting him in the name of Allah. That's what they do.
Okay.
Who's they?
They're Muslim.
Right, but you don't know what religion Todd is.
Well, he looks like he looks.
See
He's
that?
just being funny. Todd is a fashion plate. Todd's a fashion plate. He doesn't. I don't think he falls to any religion. He falls to fashion.
Oh, okay. All right, Todd. If I'm wrong,
is it the headwear and the woolly beard?
Yeah.
So you assume based on that Todd was a Muslim.
And the glasses, Aguna.
The glasses. Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Man, you guys like to judge people, huh? You got
No.
labeling and judging.
It's really not the glasses. That was a joke.
Oh.
Yeah, we don't do that here, and we don't want to focus, Keith or Stephen or Aguna or Todd.
We're not
me.
focusing. We're just having fun.
We don't want to have fun.
Todd judge me based on my attire.
We don't want to have fun at other people's expense.
No, we're not. We're having fun because Keith is being funny.
So
Well,
let's move on.
At least he's trying to be.
Let's move on. You see this article by CNN.com. What were you saying, Keith?
I just said I wanted to announce to everyone I am a Christian. Okay, there. So I'm not afraid to say it. All right, go ahead.
Okay. Border Chief, if you look at this, this is written by Jasmine Wright and Veronica Stracorlorsi. Updated 6:41 p.m. Sunday. Border Chief Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas said Sunday that it is too early to know whether the surge in migrants at the U.S. southern border has peaked since the expiration of Title 42 last week. He told CNN's Dana Bash that the numbers we have experienced over the past few days are markedly down over what they were prior to the end of Title 42. Now, remember, Title 42 is the Trump-era pandemic public health policy that allowed authorities to swiftly turn back migrants at the U.S.-Mexico border, and it expired last Thursday. Let's start with Aguna. Aguna, the expiration of Title 42 and what the Homeland Security Secretary said, what do you think caused the downturn in the amount of people emigrating to the United States?
Well, I mean, I think part of it is because they're just not getting in like people are saying they are. But remember, I think we need to compartmentalize this conversation. There's illegal immigration and there's migration, right? So migrants come to the border and they try to get processed, meaning they give themselves up, and there's such a backlog that a lot of times they get released. Previously, they get released in the United States. Sometimes they get turned around and you can't identify them. But because of the system, you have such a backlog that the system itself is broken. That's not illegal immigration. That's not someone sneaking under the fence and then running off into the United States somewhere. A lot of people most of the people try to give themselves up so they can actually get released to family members in the United States, hopefully, and then get a job and wait for their court date. Now, no one's talking about any of the process. They just want to talk about, oh, there's this surge of people trying to get in here. They're invading us. They're doing all this stuff. No one's talking about any solutions around guest worker programs or anything that could actually relieve what's going on at the border. And then, of course, there's the criminal element of it, which everyone wants to jump on and say, hey, you know what, they're smuggling, they're doing all this other stuff. That's because the system is broken. There's no rational way to process all these people because you don't have enough staff, you don't have enough funding, you have all these other things going on. But it doesn't make good media. So we want to get on here. We want to yell. We want to scream. We want to scapegoat. We want to make up all kind of preposterous, crazy stories about the border. And then last but not least, we definitely, at the end of the day, must unequivocally blame Joe Biden. So I'm going to count the number of times in this show, and I want our audience to listen to this, how many times Joe Biden or the Democrats are going to get blamed for something, and there are going to be no solutions or no positive things to address them. Because at the end of the day, why are these people coming here? They're coming here to work. They're coming here for a better life. They may not even want to be citizens. So there are things that we can do in the interim to get their money, for them to contribute to the economy, and for us to move on from it. But we're not talking about that because the narrative and the politics of it is blame somebody else for it.
So, Keith, how can you blame someone else? Like Aguna said, are we blaming someone else? Are you blaming someone else for it?
No, I think the men, well, if you look at who's at the border, first of all, there are hundreds upon hundreds of men in line. If you see them, I know Stephen has seen it. I don't think the other guys will admit it, but there are mostly men in their 20s or 30s, young men at the border waiting to get in. If many of them are claiming asylum, I'm wondering why, if its conditions are so bad in your country, why would you leave your family as a man Why would I leave my daughter? I mean, my family, wife and kids, in a bad situation to come to what a country that doesn't guarantee at this time and this culture. We are not guaranteeing that they would have a better life. Not necessarily. That's not the way America works today.
Desperation.
What
They're
happens is,
desperate.
and they
No,
get.
No, they're not. They're just here because they just want to be here. There's no desperation in there.
Please, let him finish. Let him finish.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
They come here under the auspice that they are asylum, trying to get asylum, and they separate themselves from their families. A woman was talking about it the other day, how she left her family to come here. So don't blame Trump for separating families. You're separating yourself by leaving your family in poor conditions to come to this country.
Okay, thank you.
Guarantee it. So that's all I'm saying.
So Stephen,
completely didn't answer the question.
That's okay. He answered it the way he chose to answer it, and that's okay.
Cool.
Stephen, without immigration, African Americans wouldn't be here. We wouldn't have Apple. We wouldn't have a lot of the technologies and the great things that make America the best country in the world.
100%
Immigration is the backbone of this country. Immigration is what made America America. So why change up now? And why discourage people from coming to this country?
Because what we're having now is an invasion. It's not immigration. We're all about immigration, Stacey. You're exactly right. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for immigration. And you immigrate into this country. What we have now is an invasion. An invasion that's not going to stop. It's getting worse every day. And our government says it's on a downturn. It's not getting so bad. It's not so many people pouring in here. That's what our government tells us. They also told us to get the shots. They also told us a bunch of lies. They also told any lie for the FBI, the CIA, it's all been lies. Your federal government lies to you. Your Democrat Party lies to you. That's what we have. But what do these people get? What do these people get for coming? They get free housing. They get $1,000 hotel rooms. They get a free cell phone. They get free health care. They get free everything. They get free living. We don't get that, Todd. Todd, you could get kicked out of your place because somebody from the south of the border needs somewhere to stay. And this is happening all over our country right now. What is wrong with you as an American? Do you have citizenship in another country like Aguna does in Nigeria? Because I don't think you have the safety that he has. We need in this country, we need to have a sovereign country, and we don't have it right now. We have not a sovereign country. If we let them invade our border, they're coming from 70 countries. Keith, it's not hundreds a day, it's thousands a day. And all of these people from other countries are military-aged men. They're Chinese men. We are getting invaded. What is wrong with you people? You can't wake up.
Todd, is this an invasion, as Stephen says, or is it emigration?
Right on, Stephen.
They're coming for you, Todd. They're coming for you.
Don't have
they're coming for you. They're taking your house. The immigrant's going to live in your desk. They're going to take your desk.
Yeah. Well, you say it's an invasion, but when you people came here, maybe the people that were living here thought you were an invader.
Okay.
And so when you say, when we came, it was immigration. Now it's an invasion.
No,
that's
okay. Same thing. I agree with you, Todd. I agree with you. You don't want to be an Indian right now. We're Indians.
So
right now we're the Indians.
So you're admitting that you invaded this country. Is that what you're saying?
If that's what he wants to say, I'll go along with it. But you want to be wiped out.
If you invade.
Cousin Todd and Aguna and Stacy and Keith.
We got it, Stephen. You said it's okay if you invade. You said it. You just admitted it.
Wipe you out.
They're not. You're feeling left behind, Stephen. We get it. You're scared. All right. You want to stay.
There are billions of people in the world, and billions of people want to come here.
Stephen, we got it. You're scared. You're scared to be left behind, Stephen. We get it. Todd, please finish.
Left behind for what?
All right. So, if in
you
fact
figure that out,
you people invaded America, then Why don't you go back to where you come from?
Stephen was born
Because
here.
we consider it an invasion to have you here.
You didn't come from here. You go
Just
back to
like-
where you came
Get
from.
out,
too.
get out, Stephen. Get out.
Everybody
You
get
don't
out.
like
Everybody
America,
get
get
out of
out.
the country
Here.
and let everybody else come here. Everybody get out of the
were
country and let other people come here. We
Okay.
don't. None of us belong here.
That doesn't make sense. But all right, we're getting nowhere. I want to move on. because you
Stephen,
guys
look,
are now
he thinks because
a
no, let's for
mockery.
the record, Stacy, for the record, Stephen, it's okay with if his ancestors invaded and made this country or whatever he figures it out that he did. But if some other people try to migrate here, he labels it an invasion and he's pushing against it. Again, no solutions, no talking about how they can contribute to the economy. It's all about I don't want those people who don't look like me, who I'm scared of,
There
who may
are
replace
people
me
that
to
look
come
like
here.
me. There are people that look like me. There's 70 countries. Out of 70 countries, Aguna, do you think there's anybody that looks like me?
It's not
I'm saying
why
yes.
you're saying it's an invasion. You're just labeling it
It is
that
an
because you're
invasion
scared.
of our
You're
borders.
saying it
Our borders
because you're
are being
scared.
invaded.
Hey,
It's
this
not being
American right
scared.
here, I'm not
It's telling
scared,
you the
okay?
truth.
You can be scared if you want
You're
to.
too
I'm not.
scared to understand the truth. You don't want to know the truth.
Look,
You're the
look,
one that's
why are
scared,
they
not
coming
me.
here? Answer,
I'm
why are they
telling
coming
you.
here, Stephen? Why are they
Huh?
coming here? Why are they coming here?
To take over our country.
Oh, okay. See, there it is. They're
So
not coming
you
here to
mean-
work. They just want to take over
you
our
mean
No,
country.
a lot of
same way
people
you
coming to
Hey,
work. There's a lot of good
Stephen,
people.
Stephen. Hey,
But
if you're
when you get
scared, get a
millions,
dog,
when you get
Stephen.
millions
If
or a
you're
billion
scared,
people in
get
this
a
country,
dog.
it
If you're
affects
scared,
us
get a dog to protect
negatively.
you. All right? Don't be
It
hiding
affects
in your
you
basement in fear.
negatively.
If you're scared, get a dog.
Who's scared?
You're saying they're going to take over our country.
No,
Who's
I'm
they?
saying we could have 5 billion people come in our country. Would you be the
Are
same
we
person
really
you
going
are
to have
today?
5 billion people coming in our country? Are we really going to do that, Stephen? Are we really doing that?
What do you mean?
No.
Are there really 5
There's
billion people
been
coming into our
millions that
country?
have come
But
through
we're
since
not
the-
doing this
nobody-
conversation. That's what we're
40
really
year-
not doing.
40
I'm
I,
going
stop
to
I
your
call
pause.
BS, Stacey. We got to call out this BS, okay? If you
All
don't
right.
have a solution, shut up. Is
You
basically
want
what
a
I'm saying.
solution?
If you
Build
don't have a
the
solution,
wall.
shout it
We're
out.
going to
Build
move
the
on.
wall.
We're going to move on, but before
Build
we
a
move
wall,
on,
yo.
30
man.
rounds were
Okay.
There's a
fired.
lot of brain power in
Yuma
that one.
shooting ends. Yuma shooting ends with 2 dead, 5 injured, and the suspects arrested. This was written by Stephanie Bennett, Fox 10 staff, and Associated Press on May 14th at 8:11 a.m. Updated today at 6:24 a.m. Yuma, Arizona. A shooting in Yuma left 2 people dead and 5 others hurt on Saturday night, and 2 suspects have been arrested. All the victims involved were between the ages of 15 and 20. Officers responded to a shooting call on the 3800 block just before 11 p.m. on May 13th and found 7 victims with gunshot wounds. 7 victims with gunshot wounds. 2 men died from their injuries, 19-year-old Danny Garcia and 20-year-old Ande Black Thunder. Our thoughts and prayers are with their families. It was a party at a private residence. The parties knew each other, and over 30 rounds were fired. The homeowners were not present, but they fully cooperated with police. We're getting to the point, Keith, where you just let anyone buy a gun and they go out and they shoot it anytime, anywhere. Why can that not be the way America remains?
and you are reporting weekly on these same shootings.
Not on Chicago
This is
shootings.
Keith.
Yes. So your question, look, the people, we are avoiding the main problem, which is behavior that causes the shooting. It is the behavior of these people. Look, the people are acting, the lawlessness, the amount of lawlessness in the land is really bad. And that, I believe, is a subject matter that for another show, but that's what we need to be talking about.
Well, I want to talk about, Keith, and I'll give you a quick second to think about this. I'll go to Todd. What is the solution? Everyone can sit around and talk about how horrible this is. We can talk about how sad it is, how our thoughts and prayers are with the families, but this has to stop. And what's the solution?
I just said the solution. Okay, let me say it directly. I'll say it again slowly. The solution is to train people, training, education. If you don't like the word training, how about education? We just talked about immigration, where people come to this country and they don't even they're not educated, they don't speak the language, they don't know the culture. So now they are allowed to basically not assimilate. So there is no talk of assimilation. That is the solution. Aguna always accuses us of not presenting a solution. But then when I present the solution, he disagrees with it. So all I'm saying is
I don't disagree with it. I just want it to be realistic. I mean, because what that looks like and what that sounds like, and it's an expansion of government. So you're saying let's train these people. I'm going to say how. Okay, you're going to create some concentration camps and start blasting all this Radio America stuff. What does that look like?
Please let me finish.
Okay.
I said the solution is education. You're
okay.
an educated Aguna. You are an educated man. You speak perfect English. Okay.
To be from the jungle, I pride myself in that. Thank you.
Okay. Todd is an educated man. Even though we all disagree on with our ideas, that is his solution is education. All right, Stephen.
Okay. So who's going to pay for that?
Well, we're paying for it anyway. We might as well pay for it. If we're going to have them here, let's pay for it.
Okay,
and we just have a debt ceiling debate that they don't want to expand.
We got to move on to debt ceiling, Cousin Todd.
I worked in the education system, so I know that
you complain about funding now. So imagine when you start trying to educate people on whatever indoctrination you're talking about.
Are we on the debt ceiling now, or are we still talking about immigration?
We're still talking about the shooting because
talking about the shooting.
I need extra time.
Okay.
I haven't spoken yet about it.
Okay. These shootings, like you said, have got to stop, and it starts with responsibility. Politicians cannot continue this. Everybody can get a gun. Everybody mentally ill. You just came out of prison. You were accused of beating your wife. Everybody gets a gun.
No,
You can't have a country like that. And like I said before, it's not just a gun. Okay, if they wanted to get a handgun after a background check. But to get these weapons of war just willy-nilly, it is just ridiculous. And for people like Stephen and Keith to continue this Second Amendment nonsense when we're not talking about muskets anymore. And what is the difference between a rocket launcher and an AR-15?
a lot. We can show you. We'll give you a demonstration. There's a lot of difference.
Do that.
All right.
But as an American, I should be able to have both. I should be able to have both. It's my God-given right to have both.
Stephen, your comment, you got to make it quick.
Okay, you can buy anything you want. If you have some criminal intent in mind, you can buy anything you want. If you're not a criminal, you can go to a store and you can buy a gun and pass a background check, and that's what they're there for. And if you do something nefarious and you kill people, then you're going to get a death penalty, or you're going to be in prison for life, or in some liberal states, you'll just walk scot-free. So I don't know. So you can buy a gun, or you can get a gun illegitimately. So if you want to illegitimately get a gun, if you just get out of prison, you can't go to a store. You can't do anything legitimately, but if you just get out of jail, you can get a gun. You can go to the hood or the local gangster up in Philly or New York or wherever, and you can find a gun. It's not hard to get a gun. And if you would have bad intent, you can use it. So the gun's not the problem. It's the people that's the problem. And you're never going to find me shooting anybody unless you're shooting at me first.
Okay, Aguna.
Yeah, I mean, it's always this gaslighting stuff going on. I do think that people should be able to obtain weapons if they're good citizens. But I mean, what's interesting about what's happening with these shootings, where are the good guys with guns that are trying to prevent these things? I hear the police are always coming in and engaging, but I'm not hearing, if we flood the citizenry with weapons, I don't hear a lot about good guys with guns stopping these things from happening. So you kind of have to think about, the more and more opportunities, the more and more guns you put out there, probably is going to be more opportunities for a good guy with a gun to become a bad guy with a gun. And I agree with Stephen. I mean, most criminals, they obtain weapons illegally anyway. So it's not necessarily about prevention as much as it is about, incarceration if you are found with a gun and happen to kill someone. And, so a lot of this, we just can't prevent it. But I will say this, there should be things put in place that you can track guns. And there's certain guns you shouldn't be able to obtain. I mean, that's just common sense, so there are some things, middle ground, that we can talk about that don't just have to be one extreme or the other. But somehow, some way, when you start talking about them, it all becomes the extreme in which, somebody's trying to take our guns and prevent us from having our God-given right, Second Amendment, and going away. And that's what the politicians do. That's what they indoctrinate you to do, because at the end of the day, it's about the NRA and selling weapons. That's all it's about money. It's not about your protection or anything like that. So let's not pretend as if that's the case.
Can I follow up on that? What Aguna was saying, for example, for a person to have 40, 50, 60 guns, that should be on record that this person has this many weapons, and their weapon of choice is the AR-15s and those kinds of weapons. So they should, it should be noted that these people have, I'm not saying 1 or 2 guns, that's fine. But when a person is buying 10, 15, 20 guns, now that person should be looked at carefully.
Todd, you probably have 100 pair of shoes. Should we look at you carefully?
No, ma'am. No,
what is the difference if somebody collects guns or shoes or things they put on their head that makes them look like something that kids can make fun of?
Because my shoes cannot kill you readily.
They stink. They could kill me by the smell, I imagine.
You imagine.
Okay, thank you.
You walked into that one, Ty. You walked into that one, Ty.
Well, that just tells me he has a foot fetish.
Excuse me. What I must say about the gun violence is this. When someone loses their lives, they have a family.
Yeah.
People are forgetting. You're killing people, but you're affecting 100 more people with that one action, the horrible action. They have parents, they have siblings, they have children, they have spouses. They do or they don't. They have friends that are affected for the rest of their lives for that one action that person did. That is what counts.
Well, according to Stephen, we all got to die.
Excuse me.
Not according to me. According to science, we all got to die, Todd. I don't want to be the one to tell you that there ain't no Santa Claus, but we all die. Excuse me.
Some parents don't sleep at night for years. Years. Some spouses, some siblings don't sleep at night for years after they've lost a loved one to gun violence. Do you even realize how you're affecting others? This is, it's not so simple. It's not so easy. It's not just you do and that's it and it's gone. It affects other people. And it has to stop. And we have to stop talking about it like it's a video game and start dealing with real solutions because this is hurting a lot of people. So let's move on to the debt limit. I haven't heard one solution. What is one solution, Stacy? Do you have one?
Yes.
Okay. Tell me, Stacy.
Stop allowing civilians to have weapons of war. We can start there.
There's no weapons of war that we can have. I don't have a submarine.
Okay.
I don't have a battleship. I don't have nuclear weapons. I don't have a.
After that, we can move on.
Why don't you stop?
Man, he was going to poke holes in whatever you said. He was going to poke holes in it. So you should have known. You should have known that was coming.
You can't say we as civilians don't have weapons of war, Todd. We're not going to win any war with the weapons we have, Todd. We're not going to win any war with the weapons we have, so we don't have weapons of war. We don't have nuclear weapons. We don't have battleships. We don't have submarines.
Listen, Trump supporter, you're repeating yourself.
Okay, I'm going to move on to the debt limit drama. from Todd and Stephen drama to the debt
Me,
limit
I
drama.
was. He asked the
We
question.
don't
I was
have
answering it, and he wouldn't let
submarines,
me.
Todd. We don't have submarines, Todd.
So, debt limit drama. Aguna, you're our financial guru. Do you want to talk to the swamp that President Biden stepped into just recently concerning debt limit drama?
Yeah, this whole weaponizing of the debt ceiling. So let's say Todd and I have a credit card, right? And we go out and buy Eagle season tickets on this credit card.
Yay! Look, I
No,
love
We
it.
buy season tickets to the
Aguna, you're
Eagles.
finally using terms that I love. You're using it so everyone can understand because everybody has a credit card. Go ahead,
Right.
Aguna. I love that.
Right. So
I
so
didn't buy season tickets. I went shopping.
all right. So now
You bought
Todd went
season
shopping.
tickets.
I bought season tickets. Now the credit card bill comes due. Now all of a sudden I want to say, look, Todd, you went shopping and bought that B-boy outfit for $1,500.
Uh-huh.
You know, not only is it ugly, but I refuse to pay this credit card bill until you stop buying that crap. Right.
And I've already worn it.
And you've already worn it. You already had it. You already, you went out to the club in it. You've already used it. It's money already spent. But I'm going to say, I'm not going to pay this credit card bill because I don't like what you spent that money on.
Right.
And, not only am I not going to pay the credit card bill, but I'm willing to risk your credit rating and my credit rating, because it's going to hurt both of us.
Yeah.
The bill is due, right? It's going to hurt both of us, but it's for some reason I'm going to use the time a couple weeks before the bill is due to have this conversation about your spending versus paying the damn bill. And then once we pay the bill, or ask for additional credit, not even paying the bill, it's asking for additional credit raise. This is where it gets tricky because we're asking to raise our credit limit, not necessarily paying the bill, but raising the credit limit. And so when we do that, we continue to spend and spend and spend, right? Now, the time to have this conversation is at the time that we're about to spend when Todd is at Nordstrom Rack or wherever he goes to buy these outfits. And I'm like, stop buying that. Because if you buy that, I can't buy this. That's the time to have that conversation.
Right.
Not right at the time. Not right at the time.
Walmart.
We know we're going to have to pay anyway. We're going to have to pay this. Now, if we don't pay it, we just have a bad credit rating, and then we won't be able to raise it anyway because we won't be able to afford anything. So what the Republicans are doing, what Joe Biden has stepped into, is they're negotiating based on that credit limit rate, raising that credit limit versus negotiating at the time when you have the budget. That's the time. But because of this brinksmanship attitude, they're using this coming due, it's in a recession, because they hope that people like Keith and Stephen are just going to blame Joe Biden anyway, because they're like, he's not negotiating, but remember when Trump did it 4 times, they never went to this brinksmanship attitude because it was like, look, we're all going to have to deal with, raising the debt ceiling, or it's not worth defaulting on our loan just to raise the debt limit.
And Trump raised it higher than any other president in history. Don't leave that out.
So let me bring in Keith and then Nas. President Trump, Keith, said, go ahead, let America default. Why would he say that? And what does that mean for America, Keith?
Well, because if you don't, it's going to continue. Simple as that. We're going to continue with the debt as usual and go through this over and over again. So
now Trump is the one that ran up the
why
bill.
now? Why now? What's different now that you're now all of a sudden you have a come to Jesus moment, and it's if we don't do it now in this moment right now, 2 weeks before it's due, we're going to continue to do it. This is built up since the time it's not just Biden. We ran up this debt back when the founders were under Trump and under all these other presidents.
Go
Go ahead.
Finish up, Keith.
They're printing money like crazy. Money is being printed. All right, pretty soon we'll have more money in circulation than there is value for that money. So we have well abandoned the gold standard. So we have no real value. That's why our dollars, that's why they've changed I think they're going more to the yen, to the Chinese dollar, than they are the American dollar. We're
So what
losing.
should we do? Tell us
So
what to do.
what we should do is stop spending all this extraneous money. Like, for example, I'll tell you where too, so that I don't get accused of not having a solution. Stop the border, close the border, build a wall, stop bringing in people and paying for them. We're paying for their room and board and for their housing. We're paying for food, for their food. We're paying for Ukrainian war that we shouldn't be paying for. All right, so let's.
So congratulations, you just saved a fraction of a percent. You just saved 1 point.
Spending it on my family.
Actually, spending money on.
Family.
Congratulations, you saved like 5 pennies, 5 cents.
Thank you, Keith.
Out of $1.
That
Thank
kind
you,
of man,
Keith.
the Bible says that kind of man in the Bible is the man who would spend money on the person outside the family instead of his own family, taking care of his own family. That man is an imbecile. That man is not.
No, it's an infidel.
It's an imbecile to think that the border or the Ukraine spending is of a fraction of this percent of the what overall U.S. spending. You're not talking about defense spending. You're not talking about the big entitlement programs. Those are where the buckets of money are coming from. And you're not bringing up the tax cuts where you talk about revenue generation. So at the end of the day, this is not the time to have that debate. You rather plunge the economy into some type of spiral that's going to impact you and all of us versus having this debate around the time that you put the budget together. How about putting a budget together and have this debate, not raising the credit limit?
Excuse me. Let me bring in Stephen and then Nas and then Todd.
A man
kind of got in.
Family.
But you can add in a little bit later. Stephen?
Of course.
President Trump said, let America default. Do you agree with that?
100%. The Democrats want to spin us into oblivion. For some reason, they don't want this country to survive. They don't want us to be a sovereign country. They don't want us to have any power. They want to spin us into oblivion, and that's what they're doing. They won't come to the table and do anything. They won't decide to try to negotiate one iota. So if they're not going to do that at all, everybody knows what's going on. It's not the Republicans.
It's not to negotiate. That's ridiculous. You just went over completely over your head.
Anything.
Over your head.
They just want to spend. They want to spend. They want to let people through the border. Everything they're doing in this country right now is to destroy our country. They're not Democrats and Republicans. These people that are running our country are globalists, and they're not on America's side. Aguna, Todd, Stacy. They're not on your side. The Democrat Party right now is with the globalists, and the number one globalist is China. They're on China's side because Joe Biden is indebted to China, and China's indebted to Joe Biden.
You're wearing a T-shirt from China. You're wearing a T-shirt from China. What are you talking about?
Hillary Clinton was with Russia, not Trump. It's always been the Democrats.
You're just saying stuff. At this point, you're just saying stuff to say. Let's move on.
Thank you.
I'm saying everything that's true. Abraham Lincoln wanted.
Before you go to Nas, I just wanted to rebut him 1 second.
Free the slave.
Can you hear me?
Free.
Yes.
You wanted to free them.
But Stephen,
take a chill pill.
When he's saying we
tired
should
of
be taught on
still talking.
We're tired of bullshit.
Okay.
Stephen.
I thought I was still on mute.
No.
What are you drinking, Stephen? This is why the opioid
crisis is serious. People and not be heard.
I'm drinking Mountain Valley water.
Let Nas talk, okay?
All right. All right, I'm gonna mute myself. Y'all take care.
Please do. Thank you.
Stephen was saying, wait, Nas, before you do, I just wanted to say what Stephen was talking about was letting us go over the edge. And he's not being realistic because his father would be impacted. His father is a senior citizen on Social Security, I'm sure, and he was in the military. Those are the people that's going to be affected. Their checks will be late. What do you think about this? No, I'm not asking you a question. I'm just saying to you that your father will be impacted, poor people, senior citizens. So doesn't that concern you at all? That's not a question for you. Okay, Nas.
Yeah. So first things, someone said something about people are buying the yen from China. The yen is the Japanese currency, sir. Just to correct that. Anyway,
Nas, stop that.
I'm sorry, you said it. I don't know why you said it. But anyway, getting into the so when we seen this happen in 2010, we realized like, okay, this is a problem. This is not something that should happen in a first world so-called nation. So in an era where we've got competition from the BRICS nation and of course the emerging Chinese and Indian markets, the idea that you would take your own currency and hurt your own economy and actually extend the period of inflation that we have to deal with in a political gamesmanship thing to play to the cheap seats is ridiculous. Like this kind of shows the irresponsibility of the Republican Party. Like this is a really dangerous, terrible thing that has no upside for anyone. And to everybody who keeps saying, well, how are we ever going to pay off the debt? Well, the debt is not debt in the form that you think of it. We're talking about a government, not a household. So your debt, the whole reality of your debt is based on this. If other nations look at you as a place of investment for the future, then your debt is an asset. That means they'll continue to buy government bills from you. They'll continue to do deals with you because they see you as a sovereign state that'll still exist in 100 years. The moment you start doing things like this, where people have uncertainty about you, that's when people stop investing in you. That's when people start getting rid of their money they've invested in you and putting it somewhere else. That's what happened in Europe, where you get the pigs nations, Portugal, Spain. That's what happened to them. Those nations weren't looked at as credible nations going forward. So people disinvested. They pulled their money out. And that caused a collapse economically in those nations. That's what you guys are calling for when you're saying this stuff. And like I sent this to Stacy last week, this guy, Mark Blythe, econ professor at Brown. He's been covering this for years. He's really good on it. He was good on it the first time. He's good on it now. And one thing he talks about is people seem to think like tomorrow we could just write a check and pay off the U.S. debt, and then that would solve our problems. Like, no, you'd actually crush the savings accounts of the majority of wealthy people in this country and ruin your economy is what you would actually do. So stop thinking about this debt the same way you think about your own household debt. A sovereign nation has the ability to print currency and the idea of a taxable future that will sustain itself and therefore make them a place for good investment. So that's why this thing is so nefarious, because it's like, damn, they're taking advantage of people and they're playing into people's fears. And, this is just stuff we don't talk about that much. Once you start talking about really big numbers, people get intimidated. And this is not something that's, widely studied, amongst regular folks. So, yeah, this is a disaster. Joe Biden, I think, is handling this terribly. The idea that you would even try to negotiate on something like this and meet somebody in the middle when all you're going to end up doing is hurting your own citizens. And Stephen, you're going to like this. The best commentary I've seen from this in the past 2 days was from Stacy. Should I say it or should I lie?
Tell the truth.
I'll say it. The best commentary I've seen on this in the past few days from a politician in America was Donald Trump. He said, these people are crazy. This is the United States government. First of all, you'll never have to default because you print money. I hate to tell you, okay? That's a direct quote from Donald Trump. Now, y'all know I'm not a fan of his, not a friend of his or anything, but when someone's right, they're right. And what he's saying is actually what our problem-solving process is on something like this. So think about when everything was going down in Greece and all those nations were in trouble and they were all under the euro. What happened? They couldn't print currency to make up for the lost money, and that's why their economies tanked. While what did we do? We did stimulus projects to push money into the economy until the business class got back on their feet, and then everything started to taper off and get back to normalcy. And that's what you'll see here if we come up with a good agreement. But this idea that Biden is negotiating with him sounds terrible. And if Trump is smart, he plays the hell out of this because he's the one with the right position And if he can really get his viewers or his constituents to understand that this thing about printing money being a bad thing, no, printing money means you're a sovereign nation with the ability for other nations to see as a wise investment. Printing money is not a bad thing. And the gold standard, that died 100 years ago because you can't have a gold standard based on a fixed product. Because guess what? People lie. So if you have a gold standard and Russia tells you they got 50 tons of gold and you don't believe them, what happens? Yeah, so go read John Maynard Keynes, and you can read the period where the gold standard exploded and why everybody got rid of it. And now nations are based on their credibility and ability to pay in the future. I'll stop there.
And they wanted to have people backing their own money with oil or whatever they have. This is why what's his name was killed.
Right. What was it? Think about it. If you put it to anything that's an actual thing, like something
Gaddafi,
then that means the amount of that thing that's available in the world would limit how much you could do business-wise. The business class would burn DC on fire if they started talking about gold standard or something like that, because that would ultimately mean their profits would be capped. There would be only so much that they could actually do business-wise because the amount of money would be tied to a fixed physical thing. That's
right. And the idea that you would even play chicken with, the fact that the dollar right now is the default currency for the world, right? The U.S. dollar is, then that's because of the credibility of the United States and its ability in our economy, right? So to play chicken with that, in the sense of you're gonna try to speed up a new world order, because if they don't have faith in the dollar, where they're gonna go? You're forcing Stephen's worst nightmares of China and all these other things that he keeps on demagoguing. It will come true based on his own fear, because you got Keith over here saying let's default. Let's go into debt. Let's spiral the economy just to prove an ideological point that would impact him directly and his descendants, right?
Yeah.
He's willing to blow it all up just so he can take it to the libs, or to try to go against somebody versus just using common sense. At the end of the day, it's about money. We all want to make money. That should be a unifying factor, right?
No, you gotta be
defaulting on the debt is not
responsible.
making money. It's impacting our wallets. Shut up, Stephen. If you don't want to make money, then there's something wrong with you, all right? If you like making money, you don't want to default on this debt. You don't want the U.S. to default on this debt.
No, just keep spending. Responsible position, Stephen.
We lost our credit status under Obama. Not Donald Trump.
Steven, shut up, man. That's a lie. You don't even know what you're talking about.
Really? I don't know. That's a lie.
You're just saying stuff to say it.
We let our status it went down because of Obama, not because of Trump.
Our debt went down because, what does that even, you know what? I'm not even going to entertain it. I'm not even going to give you the benefit of entertaining that nonsense, all right? I'm going to let you sound crazy. It happened under Obama, so you're still blaming Obama.
I'm not blaming Obama. I'm saying that's what happened under Obama.
Yeah, because you have that good of a memory.
I did. 2010, this is the first time this had ever come up that anybody would do this, because the thinking was, why would anybody do that to their own country? This was a political play or ploy that nobody ever would have done, because they know it affects their constituents and their own nation. So this goes back to Mitch McConnell and John Boehner with the idea of they didn't want Obama to be reelected, so they were going to go to extreme measures, and that was the extreme measure. Now, that ended up hurting their own constituents, and they eventually got the deal done, but our credit rating was lowered by Standard & Poor's during that period, from AAA to A-. Now, you paid for that at the gas pump and at the grocery store. Now, why would you want to do that again, especially in this period of instability? And again, just to get back on the last thing, because I really want to hammer this home to y'all. When Greece was talking tough and thinking about coming up with their own currency and breaking away from the euro, the minister had to tell the president, like, look, man, if you try to do that, you're actually going to hurt us worse. And he said, why? We need our own currency. Well, people don't believe in our currency. And if we put our currency out, that week, our own citizens would be sending out for euros and opening up bank accounts in other nations and avoiding our currency, which would be crushed by the euro. That's the scenario you guys are making. Because this is one part about China that we have an advantage on. China is not open about their markets. You can't invest in China in ways without the government intervening, and you're not allowed to see their books. That makes me apprehensive about investing with them. Now, if you make it to where we're on equal footing, then China probably would open up a little bit, and now you've given them advantage. Like, you see how this plays out. Like, there's no way you can really justify this and say the Republicans are right. But I would add, Joe Biden is equally wrong for even entertaining this and talking about, well, you know, maybe we'll look at what did he say? Well, mostly, you know, child care subsidies and things, like the small subsidies that don't mean anything. As Aguna told y'all know where most of the money is. So, yeah, man, this is a lot of nonsense and political games.
Let's talk about the border. Let's talk about the border. Money we spend on the border.
It's so funny.
Okay. So, thank you.
Do I
Nas,
trigger you?
I want to move on. Thank you very much. I want to
They
move
have
on
these people with this border thing, and this is why the Republicans love chaos at the border. They love it. They live on it.
They use it to make useful idiots.
Yes. This is how they get Keith to vote for them. This is how they get Stephen to vote for them.
Let's take it
to the fight. Let's take it to the fight.
They need to do something for us to vote for them.
Yes. And
okay, because we would have voted for Joe Biden otherwise, right, Todd?
This is what they used to do.
Is that 7? No, it's 7.
Used to say, niggers. And they vote,
stop talking about yourself in such
now
demonic
they
fashion.
start saying, border, Mexico. And so they know what these people triggers them. So, yeah, so now you're going to vote for them because border, the border. They're invading us. See all these words they teach you, invading. And that's like the invader calling somebody an invader. It's amazing. And you don't feel dumb at all. You don't think America did not look like you before you invaded it? Invader. Get it?
Okay, I'm going to move on. Thank you. If you see my screen, excuse me, if you see my screen, we're going to move on to Santos. According to thehill.com, the House votes to send Santos expulsion resolution to Ethics Committee, written today at 5:39 p.m. by Michael Schnell. The House today punted the question of whether Representative George Santos, Republican from New York, should be removed from Congress, referring an expulsion resolution to the Ethics Committee and shielding Republican lawmakers from having to weigh in on the matter directly. The chamber voted 221 to 204 to 7 to send the resolutions to the ethics panel, a largely redundant move since the committee has been investigating Santos since March amid mounting questions about his background and finances. The panel is looking into whether he engaged in unlawful activity during his 2022 campaign and failed to properly disclose information to the House, among other areas of inquiry. Should he be expelled, Stephen, or should his constituents expel him? I'm sorry.
I think if we could trade one for the other. I can't remember.
That's impossible. Do you want him expelled or not?
No, listen, sir. I'm assuming. What I would want is, I'm saying he's not fit for office. Get the guy from Pennsylvania that's not fit for office as senator. Take both of them out. We can have a Democrat out. We can have a Republican out. Because we all know that neither one of these should be in office. Neither one of these people should be in office. So take the cat from Pennsylvania, take this cat from wherever, and get rid of him. That's all we have to do. And you know what? We all agree on this. Why don't we do things that we can all agree on instead of fighting all the time? Because fighting all the time lets the man win. Todd, you let the man win every day because you want to keep fighting with me. I'm not the man. You want to fight me and not the man because you're being cowardly.
Okay, Aguna.
One person is indicted.
Man, we can't make this stuff up. This is great. Look, the guy needs to go. Bottom line of it, it's not this tit for tat kind of stuff. This is
Both of them,
America.
yeah.
This is not a sporting event. Hey, you gotta take one. I gotta take one. All this
Yeah,
other
they gotta
stuff. You
take
sound like
each
Joe
other's team.
Biden, who wanted
Come on,
Iowa
man.
to come to the
You
White House.
agree
So
to
when you want the loser, hey,
you're too
you
proper.
gotta get hurt if I get hurt, kind of thing. Stop
No,
it.
you're
Stop
too
the spoiled
proper. You're too
behavior.
proper.
At the end of the day, the guy got to go. He lied to the constituents. He had all kind of fraud stuff. This is not what the Congress should be about. All right. If it's found guilty of whatever ethics violation, we should uphold that. Let's not
That's
sit
right.
here and try to make up pretend people swaps. Let's swap a person in the House for 2 years for a 6-year senator.
I'm not
mad at the guy. He can't. He can't
6-year
form a
senator. You
sentence.
sound crazy, man.
He can't
6-year
form a
senator
sentence.
for a
He
House
can't talk.
representative.
He can't
Keith,
talk.
does he stay or leave?
What are you talking about, man? He
Keith,
got elected.
Well, I'll
Keith,
say,
should he stay or leave? Should his constituents who voted him in vote him out, or should the congressional body do that?
well, I'll just say what Jesus would probably say. Take the telephone pole out of their own eye. In other words, if Biden goes,
They had telephones in Jesus' day.
Yep. If he
Something
goes,
like that. He didn't mean telephone pole.
yeah.
He didn't mean that. He didn't mean that.
So
No,
Yeah.
man, he's just spitting. Let him spit. Let him spit and get out of the way. You
Yeah,
don't get wet.
I didn't know
Let him
Jesus had an
spit. Let him
iPad.
spit. Get
Jesus
out of
had
the way.
an
You won't get
iPad.
wet.
Did Jesus have an
Keep spitting.
iPad?
Keep spitting, Keith.
Hey, I-
Keep on spitting. Now,
Take
you
the
know you like
telephone
to
pole.
spit.
so that's the way you do
Jesus
it.
would say, take the telephone pole.
Let Joe Biden go and then Santos go. Let them both be impeached. How's that?
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Let me
You
Stephen,
do
tried,
did
it.
you
Keith. You
comment on that?
tried. You tried to
Yeah.
Did you
recover.
comment on it?
What's
Did
that?
Stephen
Yes.
comment on it? Yeah.
Yes, he did.
Nas, who goes? Do the constituents of New York who voted Santos in vote him out, or does the House body put him out?
No, I think the governing body should put him out, because this level of corruption and lying is this is next level stuff. This is like some Manchurian candidate stuff, to where this dude faked a whole life and basically ran on that and tricked those people. But ultimately, things are so partisan, you're not going to see the Republicans throw them out. So the Dems, in my mind, you have the bully pulpit. It's your job to rally those people to know what this guy is guilty of and get him thrown out. So to me, this is the Dems' job, because the Republicans ain't giving away. They're not giving a seat away. Okay.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Abortion.
Okay. Wait. You didn't come to me, which is so typical.
Oh,
You
I
Trump
skipped you.
supporter.
I'm sorry. Go
That's
ahead.
okay. That's all right, Trump supporter. I'm used to it. Now, this is the thing here. He should go, and Stephen and Keith know he should go, but they might get kicked out of the Trump club if they say that. But it's because of Trump that he thought he could get away with this. Just like Giuliani. Speaking of Giuliani, he is indicted as well, because and he's being sued by one of his ex-lovers who was working for him, and she had access to his computer. And so they have and this is taped phone conversation, him talking about, hey, listen, if you know anybody who would like a pardon, we're selling them for $2 million. It's terrible. It's so funny.
He
Well,
gets 1 million. Trump gets the other million.
yes. Yeah, I've got to split it. See? And so what do you think about that? This is what your government has dissolved into. So what do you think about that? Well, so what? He's a
God
great
bless America.
president. That's
Capitalism.
right.
Capitalism at its
finest.
finest. There you go.
So thank you, Cousin Todd. I must say that Keith told me a while ago, Keith's wife listens and watches the show. And she said, how come Todd always makes these sexual innuendos on the show?
What are you
So,
talking
Todd,
about? I didn't make any. I don't know what she's talking
you
about.
say like somebody's
I'm
lover.
not going to
You
acknowledge
say
that.
somebody's
because
lover,
I don't know what she's
somebody's
talking about.
boyfriend, somebody's making
Stop
love.
trying to listen. I'm not going to engage in that nonsense.
Oh, you're not going to engage. Well, people
I'm
want to
not
know.
going to engage. So move on to the next topic. We're running out of time.
It's because he's over sexualized. You can tell by the way he dresses.
What?
Okay.
Oh, now his boyfriend is taking up for him. How
So you just
typical.
said boyfriend and all
Oh,
that.
oh,
But he
well,
just did it again. He's over sexualized. It's
All
okay, Todd. I'm not the
He's a
one. I'm not the one
friend
that's
and
going to
he's a
judge you,
boy.
Todd. I'm not the one that's
he's
judging.
a boy and he's a friend. What difference does it make?
It don't make no difference.
Friends, lovers.
Friends. How many of us have them?
That's a friend. Oh, look,
Go ahead,
look at
Steve.
the two lovebirds. I mean, look at the two guys.
So I'm going to share my screen.
I'm going to sing a song before we move on. Keith and Steven sitting in a tree.
See, Stacey, that's what my wife's talking about. You know,
That was a joke because you said that was a
It's
joke.
okay, Todd.
I'm making a
Okay,
joke.
we're going on to abortion.
Every
If you
joke
look
has
at
to
the
have a
screen-
morsel of truth.
If you look at the screen,
that Chris,
North Carolina, thehill.com, excuse me.
Steven, that was a good one.
Thehill.com. The GOP faces critical tests on abortion in North Carolina, written by Joseph Choi on May 15th at 6:22 p.m. A few days ago, North Carolina lawmakers faced a key test of loyalty as they prepared to override the governor's veto of a bill that shortens the period in which a pregnancy can be terminated. It's a vote that could cost both sides of the aisle. Roy Cooper, North Carolina's Democratic governor, vetoed a 12-week abortion ban over the weekend, setting up the GOP for a razor-thin override vote that will require total unity. It says this bill would create dangerous interference with the doctor-patient relationship, leading to harm for pregnant women and their families. Let's start with Keith. What does this North Carolina fight say about where the country stands with abortion after the Supreme Court overturned Roe versus Wade?
well, you know, it's hard to answer because they don't really reflect, first of all, our founding principles, and they don't reflect the people, the majority of the people. I still think the majority of people would prefer life, to save lives, and that's the life of the unborn. Nobody speaks for the unborn, so I'm going to speak for the unborn. The unborn have to have a chance at life as well, and that's what it means to pursue in the pursuit of happiness, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That is mentioned in our Declaration of Independence, that is given by God, and we ought to protect that life. So I don't know why nobody ever talks for the unborn. Nobody ever tries to protect the natural rights of the unborn. So that's
okay,
what
Aguna.
I'm taking. I'm taking that side.
Man, so at the end of the day, for some reason, people who are have no vested interest in the matter want to impede on people's privacy. This is a privacy issue. It's between the family, the doctor, and their guy. All right. Government should stay out of it. I think we can talk a lot about protecting the rights of the unborn, but then you want to cut funding for schools and everything else when they get here. You don't want to talk about the born, right? So we sit here on our high horse, always pontificating about things, but there are no solutions around it. At the end of the day, having an abortion is a very private matter. I think Keith is right. Most Americans, nobody is pro-abortion, meaning we don't like abortions. Abortions happen because people have a private decision they have to make. And for the government to come in and try to determine what makes life and what doesn't make life in a sense of a woman's private body because again, this goes back to where does life really, is it at conception? Are we fighting for the life of every sperm or egg in humanity? I mean, where do you draw the line? At the end of the day, this is something that the government should stay out of. You know, we should allow doctors to talk to counsel with families. And at the end of the day, there are also very exceptions to this. I mean, in cases of stillborn, in which you have to have abortions, in which you have to remove the fetus from the body. There are things that these laws are not allowing women to save their lives, and I know Keith mentioned at one point when we talked about a scenario in which, you had to either have the baby or the mother. And Keith said it was up to the doctor. So he took the family completely out of it. He said the doctor should determine based on the percentage of who would likely be saved, and that's not something that the government or anybody else should be involved with. That's a tough conversation to have. That's a tough decision to make. And for us to sit here, especially as a man, sitting here and saying, hey, you know what, women shouldn't have, access to certain healthcare procedures because of whatever. Again, I don't think that's the position we want to be in. Now, we can counsel as much as we want, but we should allow people to make their own private decisions.
Okay, if you look at this article I'm sharing, what actually happened in North Carolina after that, it says, according to Politico.com, the article, let's see who it was written by, Megan Meserly on May 16th at 9:16 p.m. It says that North Carolina lawmakers override the governor's veto and ban abortion after first trimester. Most abortions will be restricted in North Carolina to the first 12 weeks of pregnancy starting on July 1st. I'm going to move on because we're out of time. Just that quick. I can't believe it.
Stacey, can I say a little something about this for 20 seconds?
Yes, go ahead.
I mean, I'm a square. I admit it. I'm a square in this at my age of my life. But marriage is something that determines that almost guarantees that you will not have an abortion. If two people are married, they're going to have kids. They're going to have kids through their marriage. And the last resort, if something happens to somebody, like they got raped or something, the last resort should be an abortion. It should be an anomaly. It shouldn't be millions a year that we have aborted babies. It should be an anomaly because people get married, they have babies, they come together, they're with God.
Oops, sorry.
If people followed that, we wouldn't have an abortion crisis.
Okay, your 20 seconds
millions of babies have died since the 70s.
Okay, thank you.
I know married people that get abortions. It's called family planning.
Make any sense. How can you have a baby and then have an abortion? That's
because of health issues and things like that. There are cases where
it's so rare that it's a health issue for the mother. I mean, health issue like the kid might have Down syndrome.
It's not as rare as you think. And again,
maybe they want a boy, but it's a girl.
It shouldn't be up to the government to determine these things. That's what the whole point is. The overreach of government.
I'm just saying maybe
overreach of government. That's my thing.
Yeah, I agree. I don't want the government to decide. I just want people to do better. I want people to decide this isn't a good thing to do to your body. It's not good to have an abortion if you're a woman. It's not good for your body.
Insane.
And most abortions are black. Most abortions, they're more blacks that get abortions than any of them.
And that's precipitated by the white people. White people love that.
Again, you guys are avoiding the issues of private matter. You guys are.
Government
let Nas make his point.
No, I'm just trying to understand this. Keith, has he gotten anything right today? Because I'm just amazed at how you always pick the wrong thing. It's like you're at the Bob Barker show. The Price is Right, and every time you pick the wrong person and don't get the showcase. How do you do that? Like, how are you always?
You're just on the other side. You're just on the other side.
No, but here's the thing.
Wait a minute.
Making these decisions, and also said out the same mouth that you agree with the bill. No. So why should I listen to you about anything?
Okay, thank you. This. I'm going to move on.
Monkey do.
We're out of time.
We're on the same team.
Our roundtable with the primary elections occurred yesterday in Kentucky, Pennsylvania. Where else? Kentucky, Pennsylvania. Anybody know the other state? Florida.
Florida.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me pull this article up so you can see it. CNN.com. Takeaways from the Kentucky, Pennsylvania, and Florida elections.
Guzzling vodka again.
Pardon?
He's guzzling vodka again.
Okay,
No,
so
it's Black Rifle Coffee.
So this article by Eric Bradner, Gregory Krieg, and Frederica Schutten says that there are 7 takeaways from Kentucky, Pennsylvania, and Florida elections. Republicans have their candidate in Kentucky. Democrats have their majority in Pennsylvania. And the 2024 GOP presidential primary has another clash between former President Donald Trump and Florida Governor Ron DeSantis in the books.
Okay.
So, anyone have any comments about the takeaways from the elections?
Yeah, I think we're seeing what we saw in the midterm, where earlier we had somebody say that the abortion, the idea of dealing with abortion is actually popular on the right, when in all actuality, when you look at the whole country, what we found out during the midterm was not only were young people against them, but a huge amount of independents were against them. And in a lot of purple states, they lost in the midterms because of the abortion issue being brought forward to the Supreme Court. So why am I saying that? To explain this same thing. When you look at these states and you look at how young people are voting and the amount of I guess you could say, get out the vote kind of energy they have, it's typically going to the Dems in this period. And the DeSantis thing in Florida is even more drastic because of his anti-immigration ideas and the things he's been saying about illegal people and not allowing them to work anymore. We've got job sites all over Florida, construction sites, different industries where those people have either been deported or now they're scared to go to work, and now those jobs aren't being done. And Florida has a huge glut of no workers for a lot of construction and things that they need because they decided to attack their worker base with the idea of racism being behind it. So there you go. These are the things you guys wish for. They always turn out terrible.
All right. I also want to say that Yemi Mobolade will become Colorado Springs' first Black elected mayor. Let me show you that CNN.com. And that's him. Congratulations.
Man, he looks happy.
All right, we'll start with our roundtable because we're out of time, so it's got to be quick. Starting with Keith, Stephen, Nas, Aguna, and Cousin Todd. Keith.
What is your roundtable question?
You can say anything you want to say.
Well, I just wanted to say to Mr. Nas, this is why, well, you can't see it, but I'm holding up a copy of the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution. Also, the Federalist Papers tells us what the Constitution meant. And also, the Bible tells us how the Declaration of Independence was penned. So it is very interesting to note that those philosophers back then, they all had an idea and they framed a government. And this is what I stand on, that frame of government that reflects our Declaration's natural law principle. That's why I always talk the way I do. I know you disagree with it. Thank God we're in America where I won't be persecuted for that, except from you and Todd. Well, I mean, what I mean is not from anybody but them.
Okay.
People on the show. So this is why I talk the way I do. I know you disagree with it. I know you. Let me finish. I don't interrupt you. I just wanted to say, hey, you got your views. I got mine. So God bless you.
Thank you, Stephen.
Oh, since it's anything we want to speak about, we'll speak about something serious. After the QAnon shaman was released from prison because of what Tucker Carlson showed on his show that he got from one of the House members.
Not true. He served his sentence. That's why he left.
What?
He served his sentence.
No, he did not serve a sentence. He had years. He had multiple years left. They let him go because they had nothing on him. It was obvious that what they charged him for and sentenced him with was not what he did. When he did not walk in, it was not sedition. It was not insurrection. No, he had years. Stacey, I guess I can't talk because they won't listen to me. He got years. Well, there's still people in jail after 900 days They're still in jail. They don't even have a court case coming up because they're being unfairly punished because of politics, because they're political.
God bless America.
Because God bless America. I know you don't understand, Aguna, but I hope because you know that this happens in our country.
Don't
this
try to
happens to people
overrun
in
the
this country.
Capitol.
Aguna, when it happens
Don't
to you and
attack
you're
the
crying
Capitol.
like a little bitch, don't cry to me because I don't want to hear it.
And you
Because I
always
don't want to
go
hear
there.
it.
Watch
There's
your
people right
mouth.
now that are being unfairly, unconstitutionally treated. They're being unconstitutionally treated, Aguna. This is our country. We all should care. If there's no justice, we are all Americans. We're all in this together. But because he's a white Donald Trump supporter, you don't give a crap about him. And that makes you weak. That's what makes you a bad citizen, not me.
Thank you.
Because anytime anybody in this country suffers
I'm sorry I intimidate you. I'm sorry I intimidate you.
I don't care who they support or what color they are.
I intimidate you, Stephen.
Thank you.
Don't let my confidence erode you.
You don't have any confidence. You're a shell of who you should be. You're a shell.
Stop me.
Why do you keep calling Nas? How can Nas get in between that?
You're a shell of a human being.
We don't care about your emotions. Come on here. Never study.
Don't stop crying, Stephen.
You're a shell. You're a shell.
Go ahead, Nas.
This man got on here and told us he was released because after Tucker put out the video, they had to let him go. Dude, the legal world doesn't work like that. Grow up, you 7-year-old.
7-year-old.
Okay, you finished, Nas? Or did you have another point?
Another point for Keith. Keith, just because you can hide behind the Constitution does not mean your arguments are well formed or make sense. Stop being a coward. Stand on what you believe and what you want to say, and stop throwing stuff out there and then Constitution. No, make your point, and if it's accurate, people will believe you. But if you come on here with your old yesterday's Facebook raggedy misinformation and we expose it, that's a you problem. Read more.
Thank you. Aguna.
Yeah, I just want our viewers to take note. I mean, you see how you hear the rhetoric on this show. You see who keeps their composure and who goes into these diatribes of just nonsensical banter. No, in America, it's good to have educated debate. It's good to engage each other, listen to each other, have opposing viewpoints. That's what's great about this country. What's not great is when you have to scapegoat and blame others for your problems and your fear of being left behind. And like I said early on in the show, if you're scared, get a dog. Don't come on here talking as if you're being invaded or you're being impeded on, because your insecurities just come out even more.
No insecurities. So Jesus was not insecure when he...
See what I'm saying? Listeners, look up. Let's see how that works. So at the end of the day, a mind is a terrible thing to waste, right? This fentanyl, drugs in this country is serious. All right. So definitely pay attention to mental health. Read. Don't take my word for it. Don't take anybody's word for it. Read. Get some education. And then don't be like Keith and Steven and come and bring a slingshot to a gunfight. They get owned on this show for a reason. And it's because they don't read and they're ideologically inept. All right. So don't be like that.
We win every time.
Just make sure that you have an education.
You're a liar. You tell the truth.
See?
Doesn't
kill a giant slingshot. A slingshot killed a giant. Woo!
You're damn right.
Yeah, see what I'm saying?
And Guna thinks he's a giant, but he's a little man.
Thank you for qualifying what I just said. You're qualifying exactly what I just said. You're qualifying it.
Todd, we're out of time, Cousin Todd.
Okay, I'm only going to be really quick. What Nas was saying was how the justice system works. When you say Tucker Carlson showed that clip, and you know what they said? Wait a minute. And the judge rushed over to the jailhouse and took the key and opened those gates and told him, "You get out of here."
They had to.
Like that.
They had to, because they knew they had an innocent man behind bars. Once
Straight
you
off
find
the
out the
straight
truth,
off the
once you
dark
find out
web.
the truth,
Straight off the
you
dark
will
web press.
understand. Until
Straight off
then,
that dark
you will
web press.
stay ignorant, Todd.
Listen,
Everybody that's laughing, stay
the
ignorant.
law,
Stay
listen,
ignorant, my friends.
the
Lewis
law.
and Clark.
That's how
Hey,
useful you
you
are.
over
You're
there?
just ignorant.
And,
You're just
and you're
ignorant.
the one looking like Lewis and Clark.
Hey, you know
Hey,
what?
go explore somewhere. Go
It's called
explore
a
the
hat.
Ralph West.
It's no
Come
more
back and
silly
tell
than the
us what
garbage
Indian
that he
tribes.
has on his head.
Thank you,
It's no,
Tell us what Indian tribes are in
I
the.
want to share. I want to share. We had some comments from some viewers while we were actually doing the show. I'm going to show it. Paper Doll said defense spending is the biggest U.S. expense. The U.S. can destroy the majority of countries aside from Russia, China, and India many times over. Defense spending can be cut a bit, and that would save. And then Republicans have traditionally been in favor of high defense spending, and after taking away food programs from children and poor families. Thank you, Paper Doll, for listening, tuning in, and commenting. We appreciate this.
Yeah, it's funny. They always find the little people to pick on. Where you want to save 50 cents as opposed to saving $1 million.
Yeah, Keith saved about 5 cents, not 55 cents. That's pretty good, Keith. Keep up the
All
good
right,
work.
to our first responders in our communities, you make our lives livable. Thank you, thank you, thank you. To our women and men in the U.S. military for all that you do in sacrificing your lives so that we are free to say whatever we choose on this show. We are forever indebted. On behalf of Aguna.
That's that boss.
Yeah,
Yes, right, Stephen. I'm your boss, Stephen. I'm your boss. Make sure you show up to work tomorrow.
Keith, the constitutional conservative. Stephen.
Yeshua is my boss.
The independent thinker.
Joshua is my boss, not a goon.
Nas.
I love everybody
for joining us. And my cousin Todd.
They let the shaman out.
You gotta let the shaman out every now and then.
I'd like to say to my sorors of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, to my cousin Kelly Hamilton, happy birthday, and especially to my cousin Jody JoJo Fisher Dunstan. Happy birthday. I'm not going to be like her sister Toby and tell you how old she is.
She's 39. She doesn't care.
She's 39 and holding.
I just want to say happy birthday to JoJo. Thank you. We'll see you.
Happy
on
birthday.
The show next week. Good night.
Have a good day.
So, Stephen, the law doesn't work like that. Just because Tucker Carlson showed a video clip, the judge can't rush over to the jail.
I didn't say the judge did anything. I said immediately after that showed on Tucker's show, he was released from prison. He had years. He had years left, Todd, on his sentencing.
Who let him out of the jail because of Tucker?
I don't know, but he had years, Todd. He had years left.
Okay, let me just explain this to you, Stephen.
So all of a sudden, after the show went off, and the next day he was let out of jail. That's a coincidence, right? Is that what you're saying?
Stephen?
No, is that what you're saying?
There have been, Stephen,
all right, no, laugh. You pity yourself. I don't care.
Never mind.
He was in the process of getting released anyway, Stephen.
No, he was not in the process of getting released. That's not the truth. That is not the truth. You cannot sentence a man like that to 5 or 6, 7 years for walking around and praying for the cops. Are y'all idiots? Are something wrong with y'all?
You are desperate to be right. You are that desperate to be right. Are you that desperate to be right?
You can't sentence people longer than you can somebody who shoots somebody.
What are you talking about, man? He broke the law.
He did nothing wrong. This guy did nothing wrong. He was let in.
Did he go to the gift shop? Did he go to the gift shop and get a pass?
I know that's
Did he go to the
your
gift shop and
joke.
get a
I
pass?
know that's your old joke. I don't care.
It's not a
What
joke.
I'm
It
that's
is
your
the
joke.
law. That's the law.
I don't
That's
care.
the law.
What I'm saying
How
is,
is that
you
a
know
joke?
what's
It's the law.
factual,
Even
and
after
you're just
that,
being
He
obstinate.
didn't go
You're
by the
being a
gift shop. He broke the
child.
law, buddy.
Y'all are just
He's
being
not above
children,
that.
and that's fine.
wait,
I mean,
wait,
that's how
wait.
y'all act.
Don't
Hold
get
on.
Y'all are
mad, man. Don't get
Antifa.
mad.
Y'all are
Don't
in
get
line with
mad.
Antifa.
At the
Y'all are
end of-
little bitty
There
kids,
you go,
and
man.
y'all just want to cause
I
issues.
used to ask if you went by the
because-
gift shop. Now I'm Antifa. I'm Antifa
Yeah,
because I
you're
asked if you
Antifa.
went by the gift shop.
Right, because you know you're
Now-
just playing.
Antifa
You know
would go
you're
by the
just
gift
joking.
shop. So,
You know you have-
so Antifa would
You
go
know
by
you
the
have a
gift shop.
you have a plastic weapon that
I
looks
wanna
like
move
something
on
from Star
past-
Wars, and then you
Okay,
try to
What are you
fight us
talking
with them.
about, man? What are you? Do you
I
make
wanna
this
You're
stuff
a
up
little
as you
baby
go?
Antifa.
I
You're a
wanna
little
move
baby
You can't really be like
BLM.
this.
Okay. I can't.
You
All
just
right,
go. It's
guys.
like ebb and flows like water. It just goes downhill.
Yeah. I wanted to move past the charges. He was convicted. Once
He was
you
convicted by
but-
people who are not
Can
good
I-
people.
Shut
He was-
up.
No,
What
he was
difference
not
does it-
convicted by
Ty, you're wasting your time, Ty.
I am.
Todd,
I
Wasting your
am.
time.
these
quit.
people
Never
who
mind.
have been in charge of this in
He's in that
DC
zone.
are
He's on the
horrible
spectrum.
people.
He's on that part of the spectrum where he's not.
Yeah. I
He's
got
No,
it.
toning you
Todd.
out.
Todd,
Okay.
you
Never
cannot.
mind.
What they did was an abomination to these people,
What
and it's
difference
coming out, and you're going to find
I
out.
mean,
And
the
I'm going to
people
laugh
went
until
down.
I
The
piss
people broke the
myself.
law.
I
They
gotta
didn't
go.
force those people to go
I
into the
gotta go.
Capitol.
They
Okay.
let them in, and they treated them with
Oh
respect.
my God. Okay, yeah.
They
Okay. Good.
treated
Okay.
each other
On
with
that note, you guys,
respect.
good night.
See, this is what the problem is, Stacy.